Another week, another weekly vlog. Welcome to A Little Bit of Monica. I am so excited for this week because not only do I have some really fun books planned that I'm hoping that I'm going to get to this week, but I just know that the next couple of weeks I have some really fun books that I have lined up. So to start off for this week, I am going to be buddy reading Starling House by Alex E. Harrow. I am buddy reading this with Michelle, and I am so excited to read this. I met the author back in the fall at an event at a local bookstore and got my book signed and was able to hear her talk about writing this book and kind of the overall vibe. And honestly, I am so excited because I feel like even after hearing her talk about it, I still don't totally know exactly what is going to happen in this book. I just know that I've heard from a lot of people that it's got a dark kind of gothic vibe to it, so I am very excited to give this a shot. Plus, I am reading this copy, but I also have the very, very beautiful Illumicrate copy, which I think was from last November, and it is absolutely stunning. So I will make sure to show you that later. It's not the copy that I have currently with me, and I already took the dust jacket off of this because I didn't plan well, but I will show you both the dust jacket and the absolutely stunning Illumicrate copy that I have. But because that copy is so pretty, I decided that I think I'm gonna read this copy just so I don't get the other one messed up right now. But I also have the audiobook from Libby, so I'm going to be listening and reading physically, and I am very excited to jump into this book. So I will update you later once I've made a little bit of progress. Okay, so as promised, I am coming in with an update on Starling House, but first I did want to show you the Illumicrate copy that I have because I talked about it before, and honestly, this book is so stunning that it just needs a little bit more attention. I'm going to try not to get the glare from my light, but this book is one of the most beautiful books that I have ever seen in my life. These are the sprayed edges, and the tops and bottoms are black, but the edges match the regular copy, which, let me grab, this is the regular dust jacket because I am reading the like traditionally published hardback, and this is the cover. So the sprayed edges of the Illumicrate copy match that, as well as the front cover of this one. But what I love so much about this book is that it is a clear dust jacket with just like the pattern on it, and the book underneath is one of the absolutely most stunning books I've ever seen. I mean, look at this. This is so cute, and if you can see the reflection, there's like little, almost like fireflies or stars in the back. Like, it is simply breathtaking. I love this copy. I love how pretty it is. I'm simply obsessed with it. So right now I am sitting at about the 200 page mark. I think I'm at 180 maybe. It's 60% through the book. I'm listening to the audio and it told me it was 60%. So where I am right now, I don't really know how to explain what's happening in this book. I know when I first mentioned I was even reading this, I didn't really give a synopsis because I couldn't remember what the book was about. Even though I heard the author talk about it, I still could not actually remember the synopsis. And I think I know the reason why, and that's because I still don't really know the full plot of this book. It is so slow. It is such a slow plot. The best part of this book, and I think probably is what is going to make this book a higher rating for me, is the absolutely amazing gothic atmospheric vibes. The atmosphere is so perfect in this book. This author has an incredible way of wording descriptions and making things feel very visceral, very dark, creepy. It's amazing. And the basic premise of this book is Starling House is the local haunted house. It's the house that nobody wants to go and look at. Nobody wants to touch it. Nobody goes through the gates, but there is a person living there, and people just kind of avoid him. People avoid the property because terrible things happen there. The history is really mysterious, but also just really tragic and dark. And our main character, Opal, has a younger brother, Jasper. They live in a motel together, and you learn very quickly of the things that have befallen their family. And she ends up basically working as a housekeeper for the Starling House and encounters a lot of the weird things that the tales have told. And she's going to find out what's real and what's not of those stories. So I think the main plot of this is essentially Opal discovering all of the truths of this house, and the good, the bad, the absolutely terrifying and creepy. And that's pretty much it. It is so slow of a book. There's like not much happening because a lot of it is just explaining how creepy the house is. I want to see if there is going to be any sort of pace pickup or any big sort of action-y event that's going to happen that's going to carry the story a little bit more beyond just creepy house vibes, because the Starling House book is all about the Starling House and it's just overall creepiness and the way that it's got a little bit of magic seeped into it. It's got that gothic tone that it's really good. There's not a lot going on. So I am really interested to see where this is going to go, and I will keep you updated once I finish this book and let you know what I finally think of everything that's not happening, but hopefully will be happening in the next 120 pages. So I just finished reading Starling House, and this is going to be really quick because I don't have a lot to say about this. Unfortunately, this book did not work for me super well. It was very, very, very slow. There was almost no plot. There was a romance that I wasn't really on board for. Not so much not on board for it, I just didn't think it was necessary, and it was kind of confusing. I didn't really see it coming, and it was just a little bit uncomfortable to me. But all that to say, the atmosphere of this book is out of this world. It is spectacular, and this author deserves praise for that. Being able to write in such a dark way and bring in these themes that make it feel creepy and eerie and this haunted house vibe. It was fantastic in that way, but there is like no plot. Like the whole plot is figuring out why this house is creepy, and it's very slow. So that's really all I feel like I can even say about this book, because I have no thoughts. This is very much a book that I can say that I kind of enjoyed reading it, but I am not going to think about this book beyond this, other than the fact that I have the absolutely stunning Illumicrate copy, which I will be keeping, and I will be keeping this because it's signed and personalized. But honestly, I'm a little disappointed that I didn't end up liking this book more because I have such a pretty copy. If I decide to get rid of it one day, I'll just pass it off to my sister because she ended up loving this and giving it 5 stars. So I know at least some people really, really enjoy it, and I can see why people would like it, but for me, it was a bit of a miss. But 3 stars is still very average for me. It's not too bad. I don't know. I was disappointed based on my expectations for this and just how very slow of a book this was. But that's it. I'm glad I read it, but now I'm a little sad that I read it and didn't love it as much as I'd hoped. But oh well, on to the next one. the dark theme of Starling House, I am really excited to be getting into the next book on my list, which is Gothicana, and there's a really awful glare from the window, but Gothicana by Rue Nix. This book kind of intimidates me. It's got a very dark gothic feel, obviously, given the name, and I feel like I don't really know a lot about this book other than I have heard people mention that they were interested in reading it, but there's just not a whole lot of people that I know that have been reading it. So this is kind of me giving it a shot with no personal recommendation from anyone, which is a little bit scary because I feel like a lot of the time, a lot of the books I read are books that somebody specifically recommended to me. That's not the case with this one. It says that it is a tale of dark romance, and I have discovered that I have liked a few dark romances recently, and so I do want to give this a try. With all of that said, I am going to dive into this book and I will let you know what it's about and what I think of it once I make it a little bit further. I just got done taking our trash down to the curb, and while I was down there, we have a long driveway and I don't always feel like walking all the way down the driveway, but because I was down there, I decided to stop by the mailbox and I got some book mail. So I thought I would open it up. I'm so excited. Okay, here it is. I have been so looking forward to getting this in the mail. I pre-ordered this from the indie bookstore down in Texas that Allie Hazelwood does like personalized signings for. So I'm really excited that I was able to get a signed copy. I read the arc of this a couple of months ago and absolutely loved it. Way more than I would have expected myself to, but this was so good. It is an arranged marriage between a vampire and a werewolf, or I should say the alpha werewolf, and oh my goodness, it's so good. I absolutely love every single thing that Allie Hazelwood has written, and this is no exception. It's absolutely such a good story, and the cover is so beautiful. Look at it shine. Ah! I'm obsessed. It also came with this cute little imitation Polaroid photo of Lo and Misery, our two main characters, on their arranged wedding day, and it is dated as February 6th, which was the book's release date. I ended up getting this 2 days late, but I don't even care because it was coming from many states away, and also it's so beautiful, it's signed, and I truly cannot wait to add this to my shelves. Okay, so I am here for my 1/3-ish check-in for Gothicana. I have so many mixed feelings about this book so far, but overall, I am really enjoying this. I feel like I'm getting that kind of vibe where I don't want to put the book down. It is a fast pace. I'm quickly getting settled in the story and understanding who the characters are and what they're kind of facing. The story is following Corvina Clem, who goes to this university, and it's kind of like a university for people who don't typically get that kind of opportunity. She can tell very early that a lot of the people there have had difficult upbringings or things that have kind of stopped them from progressing in life. And while she is a 21-year-old, she is one of the oldest people at this university. Most of them are actual like new college age, so 18, 19 years old. So she's a lot older than some of the first years, and it is a little bit overwhelming at first, but she's beginning to find her place in the school. And she very quickly discovers that there are a lot of really dark things going on at this college, and she's going to try to understand what it all means. But essentially, there is a professor who is actually a grad student, so he's technically a student and a professor at the same time. And somehow he is involved in a lot of really sketchy stuff, and she's a little bit wary, but at the same time, every time that she is around him, there is this unnatural chemistry, this tension that other people pick up on even before she really does. There's this electric charge between the two of them, and she's really wary because he's a professor and they have strict rules against teacher and student relationships, which makes sense. And it sounds like he has some history of being in a relationship with a student previously. And the mystery is that she has discovered through the kind of mythical tales, she can't quite tell what's truth and what's kind of been made up over the years, but she discovers that every 5 years, it seems like a student goes missing. And there was a history of many years ago where a number of people were killed on the same night that annually a student would go missing. And it's just this whole big mystery that I am still kind of putting the pieces together. She is still putting the pieces together, but it's very interesting, and it sets this dark tone, this mysterious setting and story that you don't know what's going to happen. All you know is that both Vad, the professor, and Corvina are trying not to give into the temptation of the attraction that they very clearly feel for each other, but at the 1/3 point, they have already sort of started to give into that temptation. It has not been super spicy or anything yet, but I can tell it's coming just from what's happened already. And I think it is going to be a secret because obviously this relationship is not supposed to happen anyway, but that's where I'm at so far. I am really enjoying the story. I think it is very fascinating. And again, fast enough pace that I am so intrigued and I am captivated. Last night I was reading this, it was midnight by the time I went to bed because I didn't want to put the book down, and then I was way too tired to film a update for you. So that's why I'm doing it now as I'm going back in for the next section of the book. But I am really enjoying this so far, and it's really tempting me because I have this from the library. If I end up loving this as much as I think I'm going to, I'm probably going to have to buy it for myself because this edition has the really pretty sprayed edges, and also it has end pages, like end page artwork, and that's not super common in even like first editions. I feel like it's not a super common edition. So I'm really excited, and I will let you know what I think as I get a little bit further in this book, but so far it is really good. Okay, so I did not expect to finish reading this book today, but I accidentally read the last like 300 pages of Gothicana all in one day. And it's because I did not want to put this book down. I swear every time I even put my bookmark in to take a break, I was like waiting for the moment that I could go back to reading this again, because this book took me on such a roller coaster. I feel like it was so fast paced that I was never bored. There was never a moment where I felt like the story needed to move faster or things needed to be happening. Things were always happening. Was it a lot of times switching into a smut scene? Yes. But there was always something happening. I feel like I need to start a little bit at the beginning. I know I already talked about what this book is about. This book has a lot of really twisty things that come and go throughout the book. I do feel like the main plot twist, it missed its mark for me. I wasn't a huge fan of it. I feel like it did come a little bit out of left field. I feel like good twists in stories are ones that you don't see coming, but once you know it, you can kind of trace back the hints at it. And I don't think that's super relevant in this book. I think that it came a little bit out of nowhere and I wasn't huge on that. However, I do still like how it fits into the main narrative that we have here, which is essentially a murder mystery story. There are disappearances and the legend of murders at this university on the grounds or like in the woods outside. And so Corvina is trying to get to the bottom of this. Everybody is trying to really understand and, you know, figure out what is true and what is false about these legends. The need to have answers and have everything answered is so deep for me. And I don't get all the answers that I want out of this book. However, I still really like it, and I think that the way it's all explained and the reason that there are gaps, it still works okay. I'm not mad, but I do wish that I had more answers than I do. This book deals with a lot of mental health and mental disorders, and it, I think, was handled really well in a lot of ways. There was conversation around suicide, there was conversation around depression, there was conversation around schizophrenia, and just other sorts of conditions that they are dealing with in their lives. And I really, really, really appreciated some of those conversations, especially towards the end of the book. There were some scenes that were really, really good. I know I'm going a little bit all over the place, but next I want to talk a little bit about the romance, because this is a dark romance. And when I was about halfway through the book, I was asked, is this super spicy? And at the time I said, well, I can see that things are starting to pick up, but it's not too bad right now. I ended up rescinding my answer because it did get very spicy. This is a professor-student relationship. It is a secret because it is forbidden. They're not allowed to be in a relationship, which makes sense. But they got into it a lot. And when I say a lot, I mean at one point she literally said they were having sex twice a day. And like all over the grounds, like everywhere, on all the surfaces, on the desks in the library, on the desks in the classroom, in his room, in her room. I lost track of how many times. It was insane. At one point they were even up against a tree. They were on a piano. It was everywhere and it was all the time, and I didn't need that. I think it was a bit excessive. Now, not all of it was super in-depth scenes. It was sometimes just glossed over, like mentioned that it was happening, but still it was a lot, and there were a lot that were in detail, and I didn't need it all. I really didn't. However, I do still think that it was important to get the progression of their relationship, because one of the main themes in this book that the author even addresses in the author's note at the beginning is that one of the really important elements about Vad, the main male character, is that throughout this book, we do not get his perspective very often. There are a few very short, I'm talking like 2-page chapters from his perspective, and it just gives a very brief glimpse into what he is thinking or doing in any certain moment. There are very few of these, and that is intentional because the author wants the reader to be seeing this story through Corvina's eyes, truly, and because Corvina doesn't know whether or not Vad is actually a good guy, we're not allowed to see inside his brain. And I actually really appreciated that. I think it adds an extra level because there were a lot of times in this book where I was questioning myself on whether or not I was supposed to like him as a character. I genuinely think he was such a well-written gray character, not morally gray as in he's doing bad things for good reasons that you don't really understand, but more of like, I don't understand if he's good or not because I can't see inside his brain, and the actions that he's taking are sometimes questionable, but also resulting in usually good solutions. So like, I just don't really know how to think. I don't know how to feel, but overall, I actually ended up being a pretty big fan of their relationship and the way that they have to uncover each other's secrets. They both realize that they both have secrets. Unfortunately, he has way more than she does, so there is a little bit of an imbalance there, but I think they handled it pretty well, and the relationship becomes something that's really stable for both of them, which I appreciated. Truly, I ended up really, really liking this book. I do think it's something important to mention. This book came out a couple of years ago, and there's a lot of reviews online from people who have read it over the past couple years, and a lot of the reviews that I have looked at have been complaining about the editing, the spelling errors, grammatical errors, just things that didn't make sense, inconsistencies throughout the book. And I'm gonna be honest, with the reprint from 2024, I don't think that a lot of those issues are still present. I think a lot of it was fixed. I think there probably was a new editor and things are a lot better. Now, if you have fundamental issues with the content of the book, that's one thing. But as far as the editing goes, I do think a lot of it was fixed. And that seemed to be a very big theme within a lot of the negative reviews that I had read from years prior. So this book was actually very impressive for me. I thought it was fun, dark, but like it was a fun read. It kept me engaged, and the concepts that were introduced, the problems they were facing were so interesting. The one other complaint that I have, and this just popped back into my mind because there are some really creative names in here. I love that some of the characters talk about the reasons they were named different things. I would like to know why this book needed to have two characters who were named Jax and Ajax. Excuse me? Like, Jax was one of the students, and Ajax was the older brother of one of the other students who also was an alumni of the school. But why? Why on earth did we need to have those two names in the same book? There are infinite names out in the world, and why did we need Jax and Ajax to be in the same book? It didn't make any sense, and I actually hated it every time I had to read their names because they did interact a couple of times, but that's a very small thing. It's just a couple of names from some side characters, but still, like really? One letter is different. Like, it's just, it didn't need to happen. Anyway, that's enough of a tangent on that. Overall, this book was so good, and I really, really had a good time. I do think it's very dark academia. The gothic vibe was impeccable. I think it was creepy, it was eerie, the legends and the lore of the mountain that this university is on, it was just so good. The setting was perfect. I think a lot of the characters were intricate, they were complicated and complex, and just overall this book worked really, really well for me. It is very dark, and the dark romance it's there, but overall I ended up really liking it, so I am giving this 4 stars. I kind of lean a little bit to like 4.25, maybe 4.5 stars, but like I'm gonna think about this book a lot. Time to build a shoe rack. I don't think we can use the hanging piece, but this is gonna be like a shoe shelf, for right inside our back door. So with my two little helpers, let's get building. The shoe rack part is done. Kiara is always in the way, but now it's time to put it in place and fill it up. Okay, so I just finished putting together the new shoe rack. So I put it over here and I went ahead and put some of our shoes in. This is just like right inside our side back door area. And honestly, the thing we had before was this pathetic little plastic piece that was just a flat shelf, and it was not super stable because the cats love to jump on it. So this one is a lot more stable now. It is actually a like shoe shelf slash bench. So it is meant to hold body weight. So this is gonna be really nice because it means that we can sit down here to put our shoes on rather than having to pick shoes up and carry them like across the room if we wanted to sit down to put them on. There are two boot shelves down here that Kiara is kind of blocking, but there's two boot shelves and then three like regular shoe shelves. Plus it comes with this little like pouch on the side, and there are two hooks on this end that are for like umbrellas. So I'm really excited for this. I think it looks really nice. The trimming in this room is white, and we just got a new door recently, which is also white. So I thought the white would look really good. I had measured it out to make sure that we could still get our dryer open, and everything seems to work well. We still have the coat rack back here. There was a matching coat rack that goes with this bench, but unfortunately it's a little bit too long to fit anywhere on the walls out here. I think it was like 3 feet long, and there wasn't room on the wall. So I'm probably going to put that somewhere else for now. I did put it together just so I could get all the pieces done, because you know how they package them in those little like non-resealable bags in the box, and I didn't want to lose any of the pieces. So I went ahead and put together the coat rack, but I can't hang it up in this room, even though it is meant to kind of go right above. There's a window there. It kind of takes up a lot of space. So the matching coat rack is gonna have to go somewhere else, but it's at least put together, and I'll show you that too, even though it's not gonna be hanging on a wall or anything. Okay, so there's really bad lighting in here, but this is the like 3 foot long coat rack type hook shelf. I think this would be really cute if I could find a place to put it. It just won't fit above the shoe bench. But I might be trying to find somewhere else to put it in the house, because I did put it together and I still have the parts to attach it to the wall. Just not sure how that's going to go yet. But this is it. It is quite long, but it does feel really sturdy, so I'm excited to try to find a place for it. So I'm starting my next book today, and don't tell my buddy read because I ended up starting this a day late, which is funny because this is only a 2-day read anyway, but I am starting A Court of Frost and Starlight today, which is I think 3.5 in the Sarah J. Maas Court series. I'm really excited to get into this one. I loved book 3, and I think this is going to still be from Farah's perspective. I'm not totally sure, and I honestly have no clue what this is about. I just know it's so much shorter. So it's only about 200 pages, I think a little bit over 200. And so we're going to be finishing this very, very quickly. I think for the buddy read, everyone was starting yesterday. I was trying to finish my other book first, so I didn't get to it quite yet, but I am giving it a start today. So I will hopefully be reading this whole thing today, if time allows it. So I am going to dive right in, see what this book is going to give me. I don't know. I don't know what to expect from it. I don't know if it's going to be fast or slow, or I genuinely have no idea. But once we read this one, we are jumping straight into Silver Flames as well. So I will be finishing up this series pretty soon, but for now, I'm going to dive into this and I will update you a bit later. So I finished reading A Court of Frost and Starlight last night after binging the entire thing in one day. So that tells you how much I enjoyed reading it. I hope it does. But I ended up giving this book 5 stars. It is so much shorter than the rest of them. I think it was like 230-ish pages, and it was the best time. I'm talking, I wanted to scream how much I loved this book. It was so fun. It was cute. It was cozy. It was so different from the other 3 books in the series that I've read so far. because they are, you know, a lot of intense war, building up to war, preparations, fighting, these really intense plot lines. And this book simply exists to showcase the personalities of the characters that we know and love, and to have them celebrate a holiday and just have a good time together, while also demonstrating some of the difficulties that they have interpersonally, because I feel like a lot of the other books show the disagreements and the issues that they have between courts or between people groups, and this book was so much more about characters within themselves and the way that they got along with each other within their little family, and I absolutely loved it. The snowball fight scene, the shopping for gifts, and honestly just everything in this book felt so soft and cozy and comfortable, and it just made me love the characters that much more. And it also felt like it was really gearing you up for the next book, which is The Court of Silver Flames. And it just, I don't know, something about this book just felt so good, so right. And it was short, it was sweet, and I just had the best time. Like, I cannot tell you how much I love this book. So far, I am trying to figure out which one I like better, this one or Wings and Ruin. Obviously, Wings and Ruin has the really high action, the war scene, and a lot of that was really, really intense, and this book is so much softer and sweeter. There's just such a different vibe that it's kind of hard to pin one against the other, but I love them both so much, and easily 5 stars. I literally devoured this in one day, despite my buddy read that started the day before, and I should have, you know, read it in 2 days, but I didn't, and I have no regrets because it was so good, and I really love this book. And now I have to move on to the next one, which I will probably include in my next week's vlog, so you probably won't see too much from me about Silver Flames, but for now, I love this book, and I don't know what else to say. I just loved it. Just to wrap up this week, I feel like this was such a good reading week for me. I just felt kind of reinvigorated to actually sit down and read a book. There were multiple days where I did not want to stop reading. I almost fell asleep reading because I could not put the book down and I just wanted to keep going. I am so excited to be able to move into this next week with starting A Court of Silver Flames, which I have sitting next to me because I'm actually starting it today, but I'm not going to talk about it yet because I'm not going to get too far into it right now. And I want to save some of my thoughts on that for next week because I will be reading it for literally 7 days straight. So that is going to be in the next video. You can look forward to that. I want to thank you so much for watching this video. Let me know if you've read any of these books and what you've thought of them, because some of them I have some very strong opinions, and others, you know, it is what it is, but I want to hear your thoughts on them as well. Please don't forget to subscribe so you can keep up with my journey, and I will be continuing these weekly vlogs because I have been really enjoying kind of keeping up with these a lot, so you don't want to miss out on the ones I have coming. Thank you so much for watching this video, and I hope to see you in the next one. Bye!